To the question now.
I wish you would.
I had the witnesses, but I didn't have Anastasio.
And what is the other witness, Reles?
Reles? Oh, I had more than Reles.
Well, was Reles an important witness?
Reles was the one witness who was not involved in the crime.
But did he know about it, in your judgment? And
I depended on Reles as the independent.
And that's why he was locked up in the hotel, to hold him, was that it?
Not for that one case alone, but that is why he was in the hotel.
And are you familiar with the facts about his death?
I am.
And what's your version of it?
That he tried to escape.
That he tried to escape?
Yes, sir.
Then your testimony contravenes the testimony of Mr. Balls, who was before us the other day.
Many years ago, I had a publisher, editor who worked for a publisher up in New York. He was old, old guy. This was in the 80s, God, way over 80 at that point. But anyway, he was really something out of a Damon Runyan book, this guy. He was born and raised in Manhattan, never left. And when the company moved to New Jersey, he didn't want to go. He'd been there for 40 years. I'm not leaving New York. But anyway, he played poker regularly. He played poker with some amazing people. He knew Arnold Rothstein, and he played cards with the detectives who had been guarding Abe Reles while Reles was in Westchester County. This is before they moved him down to Coney Island, where he was killed. And he told me, he says, Reles smelled like a garbage pile, they told him. He was proud of it. You couldn't bear to be with him. It was that bad. So anyway, the Half Moon Hotel was on Coney Island. Until recently, as I recall, but it's on the boardwalk. It's located on 29th Street. It was there that Henry Hudson was said to have landed his ship, the Half Moon, on his way to find a shorter route to Asia. The hotel was 16 stories, 400 rooms. It cost $3 million in 1927 when it was opened, and it was the jewel of Coney Island. People were proud of it. The Hibernians, which was once an Irish organization, which a massive, massive organization, held its meetings there in the conference rooms. Al Smith, who was governor, spoke at the opening of the place. So by November 12, 1941, the Half Moon, its glory days were gone. The place was really just a dump. And the police rented a room there, room 627, to hide away Abe Reles. Reles was an informant. He was a murderer. He was a lunatic. He was a government witness against Murder, Inc. He knew a lot. So surrounding Reles were a team of 5 New York City policemen. I want you to know their names. Detective Victor Robbins, James Boyle, John Moran, Frank Timpone, Harvey McLaughlin. All 5 were under the command of a guy named Captain Frank Bowles, who was a ridiculously corrupt man. So in the underworld, Reles, he was only 35, stood about 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighed under 160 pounds. He was considered weird and fanatical, and people avoided him. The reporters and cops just assumed he had a much lower than normal IQ. As I said, the detectives later admitted under oath that they just didn't like the guy. He had gastric problems on top of everything else. At that point, Reles, again, he's 35 years old, he'd been arrested 44 times. I don't know. Let's assume you're arrested at age 18, 1835, divided into, he spent every other day in jail up here. So at 7:45 that morning, William Nicholson was a guy, an accountant who kept an office on the 2nd floor. He called the front desk. He said, there's a white sheet dangling down the building, it's banging against my window. Can you do something? As the police told it, Reles had tried to climb out the 6th floor window by tying a series of sheets together, which broke, and it caused him to plunge down to the concrete landing. It was the ceiling of the kitchen, the outside ceiling of the kitchen. Landed on his back. He broke his spine. They swore up and down that when he checked on Reles, and they checked on Reles at 7:10, he was sleeping, and there was a radio on in the background, and so forth. Captain Balls later told the media, and he did this with a straight face, that it was his opinion that the detectives guarding Reles probably fell asleep, but that Reles decided to play a joke on them by slipping out the window onto the roof and then walking back up to the room, knock on the door where the police were sleeping, and he'd say, surprise. He actually... Anyway, in 1963, Joe Valachi confirmed before the U.S. Senate what everyone in America knew, really, that the cops had been paid off to throw Reles out the window. In 1954, the building was bought by the Jewish Geriatric Center, and converted it into a nursing home. In 1990s, It must have been the late 1990s because I remember seeing it. It didn't seem all that long ago. It was demolished. Frank Balls, who was long suspected of being the middleman between the mob and the cops behind the murder, he was actually promoted after Reles was murdered. He retired from the force as deputy police commissioner. Unbelievable. The promotion came in spite of assertions by gangster Harry Gross that he had paid Balls for years. The Harry Gross scandal was a huge scandal for running gambling operations. But Balls was protected by District Attorney William O'Dwyer, who was, my God, like they say, he was so crooked they'd have to screw him into the ground. Balls had been his chief investigator, and he's the one who named Balls deputy commissioner when he became mayor. Appearing before the committee to explain Reles' death, Balls claimed that all the officers on duty must have fallen asleep. As I said, he could never explain, though, how the body ended up 50 feet from the window's ledge. That's a lot. If he had fallen, why wouldn't we just go down straight? He retired from the force in Florida in 1954 at age 62, and nothing happened to him.